The planet Earth.
Some call me nature.
I am very passionate about the planet
Earth.
A living, breathing planet capable of sustaining whatever life forms we see fit to deposit on it.
Spock, judging by the pollution content of the atmosphere, I believe we have arrived.
It's the planet stupid.
No. It's the planet stupid.
Our guide through this world of the environment is eco-journalist Belinda Weymouth. Hi, Belinda. Nice to have you on board.
It's good to be back. Hello.
Yeah, you were on the road for a while, and you know you do these eco missions, and it's a very exciting world. You've got some solar-powered van or some. It's crazy, but it's terrific. It's I'd love to have you back with us polluters. So now let me ask you about what you have for today. I saw a huge plastic story, and I thought of you.
Yeah.
Is that where you want to begin?
Yeah, we have to begin with that because what California is doing, suing ExxonMobil, is huge. And this one's for you, Kim, because I know you're all about the plastic pollution. So, and it's also for us, Mark, because we love the ocean and we care about plastic pollution. And the fact that, California is, this big, powerful state is saying, hey, petrochemical companies, enough is enough. And you have to quit with the deception that recycling works, because it doesn't. And we have known for decades that it doesn't work. But just like the oil industry has done with the burning of fossil fuels and tried to make out that it's not as bad as it is, and really kind of tried to, squash the information that they knew. I mean, they knew back in the 80s that putting CO2 and methane up into the atmosphere was changing the chemistry of the atmosphere. It was heating it up and was going to lead to this crazy weather change, which we are seeing. This has been a very intense year. And they also knew back in 1972 that plastic was getting into the ocean and it wasn't going anywhere. There was a scientist, a marine biologist, who went up to the Sargasso Sea. This is the remote northern Atlantic. He wanted to look at seaweed. And what did he find when he pulled up his seaweed samples? It was full of plastic. So this guy, his name is Edward Carpenter, and in 1972, he published two peer-reviewed papers in the Science Journal, a very reputable science journal, talking about plastic pollution and how it was ending up in the ocean and not going anywhere. And the petrochemical companies, the plastics industry has been mobilized ever since. And they have been mobilized they went to this guy's office to threaten him basically about these research papers. And his bosses got threatened too. And they were like, hey, don't talk about plastic pollution ending up in the ocean. And, it's, there's lovely David Attenborough. Yes, he's really motivated to talk about plastic right now too. I mean, unlike, CO2 and methane, we can see the plastic pollution. It's very, very, very visible. And we have been really fed this lie by this industry that recycling works. And there's a fantastic quote that I've got here. So back in 1994, this was the VP for ExxonMobil. He's in a staff meeting. And of recycling, he says, "We are committed to the activities, but not committed to the result." They just wanted to use this idea that we could recycle our way out of the mess as a solution. And they always knew it didn't work. And they, along with promoting that, had lobbyists and conservative legislators writing bills and doing everything they could to stop any kind of limit of production, and especially, plastic bans. They have worked super hard to, not have single-use plastic bags banned. And this has really been, California has really been a battleground state for the plastics industry. And this, what, our Attorney General, Rob Bonta, I hope I'm saying his name right, is huge. I mean, all around the country and the world, people are like, wow, go California. What a fantastic lawsuit.
Let me ask just behind this, and one of the reasons I thought about you on this story is because you talk about, and you have a term for it, sort of end user, or you like making the corporate polluters responsible for everything, not just the end users. Like, again, I end up with the crap, just like the slurry runs off into the stream or into the water. We end up paying to clean up a lot of the toxicity that is offered by these corporate polluters. Shouldn't they have to build that into the cost or the tax, or in some way the remedy? Shouldn't that have to fall to them? So I thought of you in that spirit, because this is essentially making them own a little bit of the responsibility for the pollution. What is here? And there is some of the. This is a question. There are a lot of questions in the chat that are sort of like this, a bit provocative. So I'll offer this one. What does California hope to accomplish with this lawsuit? A big payment from Exxon, and what else? Do you want to take a crack at that? And I will
Yeah,
too.
absolutely. So the thing that you're talking about that I bring up often on the show is EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility, because what they did, back in the 80s, when they realized this, the plastic pollution crisis was growing, that it was ending up in the ocean, and they had to, basically, they didn't want their profits to be mitigated in any way at all. So they wanted to keep making it. And then they came up with the idea of, recycling. And it really was the fear that they were going to be limited with production, or that there were going to be bans on certain items. And so they all signed on to this initiative, and it was companies like Pepsi and Coke, which make billions of these single-use plastic bottles every year, and they really promoted the idea of recycling and infrastructure. But that completely, and we've said this a million times, and you just said it too, put the whole responsibility for the waste at the feet of municipalities, states, i.e. us, the taxpayer. We paid to get rid of their trash. And the fact is, what this lawsuit is doing is saying, look, you can't just pollute with impunity. You just can't keep doing that. I mean, look, we have to pay a toll to use a road. So you have to pay a toll to use the environment as your, waste receptacle. But what they're saying is you've got to be part of what this lawsuit is saying. You've got to be part of the plastic pollution crisis, and how do we actually deal with it? Because cleanups just can't. Individuals and motivated citizens, cleaning up the beach once a year, that's not cutting it. That's ridiculous. So they've got to put this abatement fund that will address the, plastic pollution problems, the cleanup, developing a better way to break down plastic. Now, this is super, super controversial, because we know that recycling doesn't work. The single-use plastic bags that we I want to get to sort of what the plastics industry, the sort of various fights we've had in California, but and pull me in, Mark, rein me in if I get out of control with this, because there are so many directions to go in.
Sure.
But the real thing that this lawsuit is saying, the sort of the subtext title of it is "Stop the Deception That Recycling is Working," and this is really, really important, because it really is sort of, pulling, the scab off the wound or whatever. I mean, it's really exposing it for what it is. And if you have an Exxon funded abatement fund, and you actually show, the other petrochemical companies, here we are taking Exxon to task and, for their part in this pollution problem. Now, just to give you an idea, California deals.
Finish that thought. You're saying you're saying it sends a message to the other entities besides Exxon. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Because back in 2020, California actually launched an investigation into the oil industry and their part in the plastic pollution crisis, which everyone knows is this global crisis. I mean, you go to a beautiful beach in Indonesia or anywhere in Southeast Asia, and you're going to be on some gorgeous tropical beach, and you're going to go into the water, and plastic is just going to be floating past you. So it's, like I say, it's really about the deception, and let's get, some transparency here, and really call, a spade with what's, going on.
And so the fund will be used to mitigate the effects, and also you view this as it's a penalty. It's right, the corporate penalty that is being paid.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. That you've got to be responsible for the cleanup. So the thing that we were talking about before, extended producer responsibility. This is a version of it, saying you have to be part of the cleanups. You have to help make them better. And then one of the things that I do want to talk about is this idea that there's got to be a better way to break down plastic. I mean, really what we have to do is to reduce the amount of plastic that we produce. But the problem with it is we have all this methane and ethane because of fracking, and it's much cheaper to produce virgin plastics from those gases than to take a plastic article that's already, in the environment and to recycle it. That's not as economic. But obviously, it's way better for the planet's health if it's not just being inundated with this deluge. So California is dealing with 10 billion pounds of plastic waste per year, 10 billion pounds. So when this suit was announced against Exxon by the state of California, their spokesperson, Lauren Kite, her name she responded with this, well, so far our advanced recycling has dealt with 60 million pounds of plastic waste. Well, that's 0.6 of a percent. That's a sixth of 1% of the plastic waste that one state, California, is producing. That's nothing.
That's extraordinary. That's extraordinary.
Yeah. So it's like, to make a claim like that, I'm going to call totally bogus, and that's a solution, because it isn't. And then the other problem with this advanced recycling, as I was saying, is, it's toxic and it uses energy. And really, we need to produce less plastic, and we need to produce these producers of plastic, these petrochemical companies need to produce plastic that truly is recyclable. Because right now the plastic, these plastic bags, what happened in California is, we've been fighting this fight, and it goes back and forth. 2014, Californians voted that they wanted to get rid of single-use plastic bag, the flimsy one that we got at the supermarket that really was single-use. We were using 30 billion of them a year. Well, the plastics industry mobilized. There was a referendum. There was a 2-year hiatus where it couldn't be enacted. And they spent $20 million, lobbyists and their litigation team in California. They put a proposition on the 2016 ballot that basically was trying to get Californians to vote against the bag ban that they had already said they wanted in 2014. The proposition was worded in a super confusing way, so that people thought they were actually voting for the bag ban. There were two propositions, SB 270 and SB, I think it was something like 271. At the time, I was working with Heal the Bay and Algalita, and we had to have this huge grassroots effort to really educate the public. This is the proposition you need to be voting for, because the other one you'll actually be voting for bags to come back. And then when COVID happened, the plastics industry mobilized again and said, hey, pathogens are being, taken to and from the supermarket. Consumers and workers in supermarkets are in danger because of reusable bags. They're full of COVID pathogens. And that just wasn't true. But our governor, Gavin Newsom, said, okay, we can go back to those terrible, flimsy, single-use plastic bags for 60 days because, he wanted to be doing the right thing for people. So
sure. There's a comment here. There's a way to turn plastic back into oil fairly easily and cheaply. Folks tried to get governor to support it, or that might be government to support it, and they refused. Are you aware of that? Is that true, that there is an easy way? There's a way to turn plastic back into oil fairly easily and cheaply. Is that D. Elliott is saying that?
Oh,
I don't know. I've not heard that.
No, I have not heard that one either. I can do some investigation, but no.
Yeah,
if
somebody D. Elliott, send me something, the Mark Thompson Show at gmail.com. Send me that, and I'll look at it too.
Yeah. Send us a link to a scientific article that really proves that that's true, because there's just the amount of lying and this sort of incredible PR circus to promote plastics as safe and recyclable. We know that less than 10% of them get recycled. It's just, it's awful. And it's absolutely, it's sort of the mirror image of what they're doing with the burning of fossil fuels and climate change, trying to say that, really it's not us. And, it's electric cars aren't a solution. And we have to keep
No, you're right. I
burning.
mean, it's interesting. You make a really good point that it's the same dance we've been seeing, in effect, and that has been exposed on climate change. Essentially, they knew it was happening. They knew they were contributing to it. They had the latest research on it. They had transformative information that would have helped so much to release it to the public for decades. It goes all the way back to the 60s they knew about this. And still, they covered it up. They didn't. Now we know. Similarly, you're saying they knew that plastic wasn't recyclable. They knew that these bags had no real end within the world of reuse, except to be thrown into the bin, as you would say. I mean, into some pit. And that's essentially where we are. And now, for lying about the recyclability of the plastic, California, anyway, is saying, hey, guys, you're going to pay a price for this. And it's a warning to all the rest of you as well.
Yeah. No, I think it's so important. And just to give you an idea of the nefariousness of what this industry does. So there's an organization called ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council. And they work with companies and conservative legislators to enact, the bills that they enact. So one of the things they're really into are these things called preemptive bills. And what they do is they get a preemptive bill passed in a state or, in a city. And what it does is this preemptive bill prevents that jurisdiction from being able to, say, raise wages or ban a pesticide that's proved to be toxic. And in 2015, they wrote up this preemptive bill for any kind of restrictions on plastic, particularly plastic bans. And it's a one-size-fits-all document. There's a blank, you just fill in your jurisdiction and you say, yes, we have this preemptive bill in place in our state. And so far, it's upwards of a dozen states that have signed it, Arizona being one in 2018. And it means you can't ban plastic. I mean, this is outrageous.
It's crazy. I mean, that's just bowing down to moneyed interests. It's that simple. Yeah. It's a naked money grab.
It's all about money.
But I thought of you. I mean, first of all, California does some transformative things. We also screw up things here, but sometimes the transformations are the things that really can have a cool ripple effect across the country and maybe beyond that. I mean, we really bow to corporate interests here, oil interests, in a way that other countries don't always. Here's Dana Jones says, recycling of plastics is another great gaslighting example from the oil gas industry. Excuse the pun. No, it is true. Yeah, very well done. Dana is so right. I mean,
it's totally
it also plays to what we want to believe. All of us, even the a-holes in the chat who I see pushing back on this, kind of like, oh, it's all crap. We're all going to die. Whatever it's all the, like, none of it matters kind of thing. It all really matters. This is the thing you would do for yourself. If you knew you were ailing, you would do all you could to try to treat your illness. And the earth has an illness, and it's associated with this proliferation of these pollutants. And so this one, I think, is an important brick in the wall you build to try to address these issues. So anyway, I think that it's true. We want to believe that, and all of us do, is my point, that we can do something to maintain some sustainability, that we can recycle. So the lie that they tell us, which is that the plastic is all recyclable, or that little thing that you showed us that day, which is looks like it's a recyclable thing, but it's actually just something they put on the bottom of bottles to make it look like it's recyclable. You know what I'm talking about, Belinda? You're looking at me like you don't know what I'm talking about.
You mean the little triangle with the arrows?
Yeah, that's right, the triangle.
Well, yeah, and it depends
Well,
on the
which one?
number.
You told me it doesn't do anything. It doesn't
Well,
indicate anything.
the lower the number, the more recyclable, supposedly it is, if it's a 1 or a 2. But the problem is, where is it being recycled? Is it being recycled, here in the States, or are we still offshoring outsourcing the problem? Because a lot of it's still, we're trying to send it to some other country and tell them it's their problem. But the thing with plastic, and the thing you have to remember, and this is so important, is less than 10% of it actually gets recycled, the plastic that gets sold and is out there in the world. And plastic bags, and those heavy duty ones that we got told, these are going to replace the flimsy ones, and these ones are going to be great because you're going to reuse them. Well, people don't reuse them, and they're not recyclable. And if you put any kind of plastic bag in your recycling bin, it messes up the recycling facility. It gets caught in the cogs. They have to stop the whole machine. And there's one company that says, plastic bags cost them, a recycling company costs them $1 million in stoppages every year, the half hour that they've got to stop the machine, take out the plastic bag. So, and then supermarkets were supposed to provide a receptacle that those heavy duty plastic bags could go into if you didn't want to use them more than once. And apparently they don't all do that. They don't all end up at recycling. They put trackers in these things to see, does it really get to a recycling facility? And it doesn't. I've actually, I put up on Twitter a couple of stories about plastic. One from the LA Times, which really shows the sort of the truth about, how recycling doesn't work. And this plastic bag thing is really terrible because apparently after COVID, and once they took away the flimsy bags and they put back in the charge, the 5 cents a bag, people didn't bring back their reusable cloth bags. They just started using the plastic ones. So, California's really trying, but it also depends on consumers to also, kind of go, hey, I'm going to really commit to not using it. I was in the supermarket yesterday and there was this woman who was putting everything, including bananas, which, come in their own packaging. They're like, nature's best fast food, in its own, receptacle. Right. She was putting the bananas in a plastic bag, and then she was buying all these boxes of herbs. So, sage and parsley and, in their individual plastic bags and boxes, and they were going into plastic bags. I mean, I was behind her in line. My head was almost exploding. It was just this sea of plastic. And of course, I wanted to say something, but you have to pick your moments when you want to do a little bit of adult education.
That's a tough one for sure.
Yeah, it really is. It really is, because it's
especially
not my place.
These days, everybody's wound so tight. You never know what's going to happen. You don't want to become the recycling police, and yet it's very hard to watch that.
I think we maybe need recycling police. Belinda should be allowed to issue citations.
Well, if somebody's going to
Belinda Weymouth, eco-journalist here, I'd like to issue a ticket for your plastic usage today.
Just a warning this time, but
just
next
a friendly
time
warning to start with.
Well, we love our visits with you, and there is sadly so much more that this is from Wes. Thank you for the super chat.
Big shout out.
They just canceled the recycling program in Polk County, Florida. Last recycling pickup is October 1st. They take away our yellow bins. Wow, is that right? They won't even recycle anymore there. Gosh.
See, this is crazy because you have to be making an effort. I mean, it's nuts. It's really nuts. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this, because we're playing them at their own game. They've legislated and done all this stuff to keep using plastics, and now we're saying, okay, we're going to legislate against you and the pollution that you've caused. It's going to be your problem.
Exactly. Lisa says, I tried to follow my recycling waste management and found it ends up by the Mexican border, probably into the ocean there. Yeah, it's just the ocean really is the open sewer that we dump everything into, and it's just so sad. Kim, you have anything else before I excuse the witness? Because we do have to wrap up. I
just did a story the other day about this company that started in Seattle, then spread to, I think, Portland, the Bay Area, Los Angeles. And they're a specialized recycling company. And for an extra $14 a month, you hire this company and they'll come take plastic bags. They'll come take that plastic film that's over a lot of things. Mm-hmm. They'll take those little plastic dammits that close your bread bag closed.
Mhm.
All of these batteries, all of these things that can't traditionally be recycled that just end up in the landfill, they've found places that will take them and use them to make things out of them. And so it's an extra cost. It's an extra $14 a month that maybe a lot of people can't afford. But I think some people are so upset or feeling guilty every time they have to throw away a plastic item in the regular garbage that they are motivated to pay this company to come, and they put canvas bags on your porch. You fill it up with all the plastic that can't go into your blue bin, or as Wes said, yellow bin, whatever color bin is your recycling, and they take it away and do other things with it. So it is possible if you pay for it.
The last thing I
Yeah.
would say, just let me just say, this will just take 10 seconds.
Mm.
We have this thing where we want everything to be cheap, and sustainability is a responsibility we have as a culture. It can't always be cheap. Sometimes it costs more to live sustainably. So I sign on to the $14 a month for that.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Do you
Melinda, sir.
do you use the service?
No, I don't. I didn't even know about it
Oh,
until you just
mhm.
mentioned it. It's here in California.
It is.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
send me
I'll look
something on that. Yeah,
I'll look
please.
it up really quickly.
I will.
Go ahead.
Google it.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Send us the link. We want to know.
Look at
about
this,
it.
Ms. Organic. Kim, what's the name of that? What's the name of that recycling company? How come they're not advertising on our show? Is what I would ask. I mean,
Yeah,
come
they
on, let's
should
get
be.
on it.
So the name of the company is called they say it's like high-end recycling. It's a new company. It's called Ridwell, Ridwell. Ridwell
Wow.
is the name of the company. They're again right now, and they're expanding quickly because they've realized that so many people want this service. So it's Ridwell. It's in Los Angeles. It's in the Bay Area. It's in Seattle. It's in Portland, and hopefully they'll continue to expand.
It's the way us libs can
Yeah, exactly.
clean our souls, everybody, right there with the red will. Yeah.
Ridwell. Mm-hmm.
I just want to say one thing, because Randy is saying that $14 a month isn't a trivial additional expense for some people. And Randy, yes, that is true. And that is why we have to get the plastics industry to pay for this. There has to be an
Exactly.
abatement
Right.
fund, and Exxon Mobil, et cetera, all of them. They have to pay for it, not us, because they're the ones that are making this huge profit and have been, selling us this absolute falsehood that recycling works, and we know that it doesn't. We've known for decades. So I'm totally with you, and it really has to be taken off, the individual, and it has to be put back on these companies, because it just can't be that they get to, have all these profits, make all this money, and poison everyone else's world. It's not okay.
own, and they own no responsibility for the damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. You can find Belinda Weymouth across social media. Belinda Weymouth is Waymouth. Find her here with us on Wednesdays. Thank you, Belinda. It's the Planet Stupid for today. Thanks, Belinda.
More
It's the planet stupid. No, it's the planet stupid.
next time, only on The Mark Thompson Show.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.